great sadness that the school committee begins this meeting with a moment of silence for one of the Walpole Public School students, Ms. Hannah Elizabeth McClark of Walpole, who passed away a few weeks ago. Ms. McClark was a student singer in the concert chorus, as well as a field hockey player and a member of the track team. So this evening we'll have a moment of silence for her as we begin, keeping her family in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Our next order of business is recognitions under the agenda. And this evening we have, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Goff, the Valedictorian and Salutatorian speeches from the class of 2020's graduation ceremony.
Yes.
Which a number of our, excellent. Would you like to introduce that?
Sure. So what this is, it's the video that I sent out as the link of the entire graduation, the whole little more than 4 hours and 15 minutes of it. But it starts with the national anthem, with students singing the national anthem. That's nicely pieced together with an introduction from Mr. Imbush. And where we are is just to take a look and listen to the speeches that were given by our students in terms of our student class president, and the gifts for the senior gift and the junior gift, and then you'll see how they piece together the speeches quite nicely this year. So I'm going to start it, and then I'll end it after the speeches.
Presentation of the class gift by the senior class president, Hallie McLaughlin. This will be followed by the acceptance of the class gift by the junior class president, Kevin McElhaney.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Hallie McLaughlin and I'm Walpole High School's senior class president. It is an honor to be speaking to you
I can't
today.
hear it, Bridget.
I would like to begin by thanking all of the parents, guardians, friends, and family members who are here today, and those who cannot make it to celebrate with us. I think I speak for my classmates when I say that none of us would be here.
Yeah, I can't hear it either.
Okay, hold on, we'll pause it.
Love and support.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit for you guys.
With that in mind, I would like to thank my own family for always supporting me and pushing me to be a better student, athlete, and leader. Thank you to all of the teachers, faculty, and administration in the Walpole Public Schools. You have.
Can we hear that or no?
No.
Well,
You can hear it? Yeah. Okay. Walpole TV, cable TV said they could hear it. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
You unshare your screen.
Okay.
And then you share again. You want to share computer sound. That's the one.
All right, we're gonna try it again. Oh, I'm muting.
presentation of the class gift by the senior class president, Hallie McLaughlin. This will be followed by the acceptance of the class gift by the junior class president, Kevin McElhaney.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Hallie McLaughlin and I'm Walpole High School's senior class president. It is an honor to be speaking to you today. I would like to begin by thanking all of the parents, guardians, friends, and family members who are here today, and those who cannot make it to celebrate with us. I think I speak for my classmates when I say that none of us would be here graduating today if not for your constant love and support. With that in mind, I would like to thank my own family for always supporting me and pushing me to be a better student, athlete, and leader. Thank you to all of the teachers, faculty, and administration in the Walpole Public Schools. You have taught us many valuable academic and life lessons, and you have helped shape us into the young men and women that we are today. You truly do not receive enough credit for the work you do. So one last time, thank you. And finally, to my classmates in the class of 2020. Thank you for believing in me, trusting me as your president, and giving me 4 of the best years of my life. Although this is not the way we all imagined and hoped to be receiving our diplomas, this moment will forever define us as a class. The class that persevered, continued to work hard, and never gave up, even in these unprecedented times. Our class was born in the aftermath of 9/11, and we have experienced the highs of sports world championships and the lows of the global financial crisis, the Boston Marathon bombings, and now this global pandemic. These moments in history have challenged us in ways we never knew were possible, strengthened us as individuals, and brought us together as a class. I hope that you will take this period of time as a lesson. Never take another moment for granted. Take every opportunity that you are given and try your best in all that you do, because we have learned the hard way that nothing in life is guaranteed and every moment is precious. Lastly, I ask that you tackle the rest of your life the exact way you did the coronavirus, with diligence, persistence, and determination. We are constantly being told that our generation has the power to change the world, but I believe that we are the class that is destined to do it. Use your voice, stand up for what you believe in, and fight for what is right. The class of 2020 will be in history textbooks one day, and we will forever be remembered for our contributions to the world. So, class of 2020, we did it. Congratulations to every single one of you. I wish you the absolute best of luck in your future endeavors, and I cannot wait to see what each one of you will accomplish. To those of you who are planning to serve our country after graduation, thank you for your service. And to the underclassmen, I wish you well as you continue your education at Walpole High School. Enjoy every second of it because it goes by quicker than you could imagine. And finally, on behalf of the class of 2020, I would like to present our class gift, a generous donation to the Walpole Food Pantry to our junior class president, Kevin McElhaney. Thank you.
Thank you, Hallie. My name is Kevin McElhaney, and on behalf of the class of 2021 and the rest of the students at Walpole High, we thank you for this generous gift. Despite all the uncertainty in the world, the class of 2020 has achieved their goals. They have persevered through tough times, and we should use them as an example. We will continue to look at you as role models and wish the class of 2020 all the best in the future.
At this time, I would like to present the graduation speakers: Brigham Byerly, Matthew Ferraro, Naomi Fitzgerald, Justine Profil, and Andrea Wilbur.
Dear class of 2020.
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 Much is being made, and rightfully so, of how the class of 2020 is missing out on a number of events that bring closure to our high school experience.
And this certainly isn't the way we all imagined celebrating our high school careers, with pre-recorded speeches and a drive-through graduation.
But while we might be known as the COVID class of 2020 for years to come, we should not lose sight of all the little things that made our time here together irreplaceable.
Instead of remembering ourselves as the class who graduated during a pandemic, we should remember ourselves as the senior class whose hockey captains led their team to a co-championship, whose drama productions and musical performances inspired their audiences, whose robotics team built the best robot, whose dance company brought the crowd to numerous standing ovations, whose film festival movies made us laugh and cry.
We are so much more than our last few events as high schoolers. We are the sum of our time here, in which we did a whole lot.
Throughout high school, we have all had the opportunity to find ourselves within our community, whether that be through joining clubs, playing sports, or just having the courage to say hi to someone new in class. These are the little moments that have truly shaped our high school careers. The little acts of kindness, unexpected friends, and random school events like Poopgate and coffee houses are what I am going to miss the most.
What most adults know as the 9-to-5 grind, high schoolers know as the 7-to-2 grind. There were late nights exasperated by the injustice of an unholy start time, but these late nights opened our afternoons for after-school events, things like practices, games, club meetings, filming sessions. I could go on. Events that were made possible by the early dismissal bell. For every 7 hours of school, there were 30 minutes of memorable moments at lunch. For every 5 days of hard work, a weekend full of memories. Really, it's the small, frequent memories that leave a greater legacy than the larger, infrequent ones.
Especially when you see a person every day, it is hard not to start a conversation. Whether you both bond over being late to school, play the same sport, or sit next to each other in a class, memories are made. I will always remember having someone to walk with me up 3 flights of stairs to homeroom with only a minute before the bell, and getting to see the faces of all of my peers each morning, everyone willing to say hi or acknowledge that you have made it to school. Over the course of 4 years at Walpole High School, the simplest memories are the ones that will be remembered forever, uniting us all.
While we all know who our closest friends are, it's the unexpected moments in school that made us feel welcomed. The quick laugh to someone who just got yelled at by a teacher. The mad rush out of school during poop gate. What seemed like never-ending conversations to have the Wi-Fi turned back on. The person you were assigned to work with when the teacher chose partners. The person you'd never spoken to that handed you their ice scraper on a snowy day. Whether it be mutual struggle or pure joy, these moments reminded us throughout high school that we were not alone.
Some of us have been in the same classes since kindergarten, others since middle school, and even as late as high school. But in the last 4 years, we have made the most out of our time together. We started our journey at 4 different elementary schools, progressed into 2 middle schools, and then merged into 1 high school. Although we have all had very different experiences, taking different classes, participating in different activities, clubs, and sports, we stand united now more than ever as the Walpole High School class of 2020.
And while this pandemic doesn't have to define our time in high school, it has brought us some unique lessons that we should value. The importance of community, checking in on your neighbors, staying in contact with friends, and helping each other through difficult times. Walpole's strong community has truly shined through during this experience, and we should take the time to appreciate and learn from those who have put their community first. The cafeteria workers who have been working every day to prepare lunches for kids during quarantine, the teachers who worked hard to navigate Google Meets and give us engaging classes, even if they were just teaching to little boxes on their screens when we turned our cameras off. And all of the staff who have worked hard to ensure we still had a meaningful senior year and graduation. All of these people took it upon themselves to help us and make us feel appreciated, and we should never forget what they have done for us. For those of us who have been mostly unaffected by the pandemic, there will come a time in all of our futures where we'll need to lean on our community for help. Paying it forward now is a great thing.
As we move on from high school, do not forget about this community. Whether it be a teacher, a friend, a family member, a class, a club, or a team, something in Walpole has given you purpose and motivated you to be here. Do not forget that feeling that you have been loved and supported, that your goals are achievable, and that you have something to offer to the world. Be the person who holds the door, or volunteers for a charity, or picks up a piece of trash off the ground. These small acts cost us nothing, yet gradually create a community of kindness.
I have pride in each and every single one of my classmates. Over the last 4 years, we have done some amazing things, from walking out against gun violence to rallying around members of the community battling illness. Although I am a little biased, I truly believe that we are one of the most exceptional classes to come through Walpole High School, simply due to our resilience and constant support of each other. Although our graduation is representative of our passage into adulthood as we all go our separate ways, I hope that in everything you do, you remember the friends we have made, the community that will always be here to support us, and the way Walpole High School has made you feel.
High school graduation is the celebration of 13 years of hard work. Unfortunately, events beyond our control have unalterably changed the way we get to experience graduation. I remember how my 6th grade science teacher shocked my class by introducing the concept that there is no such thing as cold. Rather, the sensation that we know is cold is merely the absence of heat. It is much the same with good and bad, for without suffering, there is no baseline against which we may judge happiness. The simple truth is that any hardship elevates our appreciation for the good in the world.
Soon, we will use what we've learned these last 13 years to find our place in the world, and the last 12 weeks have been our test run. Without the structure of school, we have all had some time to learn new skills, spend more time with our families, and gain new perspectives on our place within society. Although these are uncertain times, I encourage you all to try to see the small blessings that have come with it and take this time to be introspective.
As we have all experienced firsthand, we now know that we do not truly appreciate something until it is taken away.
But why think about what was supposed to happen rather than reminisce on what did? When you talk to your older friends and relatives about high school, what they remember are not the events in and of themselves, but rather the way they felt.
Chances are you can remember the feeling of putting on your prom dress or tux for the first time, screaming at a school-wide pep rally, your first day of senior year, or just hanging out with your friends at lunch. The grades you received, the projects that you accomplished, and the late nights will be forgotten. But the memories you have made will not diminish.
And a final lesson to take from this is how we choose to experience and appreciate the things in our lives. I think one of the things our class has learned is how to take any little moment you get and enjoy every second of it. In a normal high school experience, we would all have the time to prepare for every hello and every goodbye we make. But this is not a normal high school experience. We don't get to prepare, but instead, we get to appreciate every little moment from high school in a way not many other people would understand. We get the reminder to always be present and live each moment as best as you can, because you just never know when things will change. Our class has accomplished so many great things together, and so many great things lie ahead. This is just the beginning of a wonderful future.
Over the past 4 years, we have all changed and have grown to be more positive and respectful, to have more integrity, to be driven and empathetic. But that's not the only thing that have made our 4 years special.
Thank you to our families and friends, to our teachers, coaches, and mentors who in times of self-doubt pushed us all to be our best selves. We are all here today because of you.
As Walpole High School becomes something of the past, the sense of pride and community that this town has taught us is something I hope all of you carry with you for the rest of your lives. That feeling of fulfillment and self-pride is not gone. We must just find new ways of acquiring it.
We all put our hearts into something in high school, so bring that heart with you in your next step in life. The excitement we all had for spring of our senior year is not gone forever. Take that excitement and passion with you wherever you are going in the fall. It's a fresh start.
I admit the icing may be marred with unexpected imperfections, yet the cake is baked, the ingredients so meticulously measured, the batter poured. There remains much to celebrate.
We are the class of 2020.
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 At this time,
Good stuff, Bridget.
Yes.
That was nice.
Great.
Very good. Thank you very much. I think we'd be remiss to just, when we're on the subject of commencement, not to, in one breath, really congratulate the class of 2020. I know a number of my colleagues were able to join you in conferring the conference of diplomas on Sunday, followed by a wonderful parade with so many people, the police, the fire, and the senior center all working together to come together as a community to celebrate our seniors. So it was a wonderful weekend, and it's great to publicly view in another setting some of the other parts of the graduation and commencement exercises. Anybody else have thoughts? I know a bunch of us were there at commencement. All right, seeing none, we will move on to our Walpole High School student report. We have our dear friend Representative Brendan Mahoney with us this evening. And Mr. Mahoney, are you joined by someone else as well?
Yes, I'm joined by Grace Ryan, who is a new school committee representative and will be starting next year. And she wanted to shout out tonight. So,
excellent. Welcome, Grace. It's totally painless, we promise.
hi, Grace.
Mr. Mahoney, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brendan Mahoney, and I'm a rising senior at Walpole High. This past Sunday, June 7th, Walpole High School held their first drive-through graduation in history for the class of 2020. These ceremonies included students and their families driving up to the high school and receiving their diplomas, following by a parade throughout Walpole in which people lined the streets to cheer on the class of 2020. It was a truly great showing by the community of Walpole to support a group that has lost so much during the final year of high school. This ceremony was broadcasted live on local television and the traditional speeches, as we just saw, were pre-recorded and released to the public earlier this week. I wish the best to the class of 2020 and all their future endeavors. As the year is winding down, teachers are assigning final papers or class assignments. Overall, online learning was a success. I feel as though teachers as well as students did an excellent job adjusting to difficult circumstances. Clubs at Walpole High School are also wrapping up with their final activities for the year, such as meetings. I, as well as all other students at Walpole High, are looking forward to what next year may bring if classes, sports, and other activities may resume. Members of Student Council, including myself, met with school committee members earlier this week to discuss the current debate regarding the Walpole High School mascot, the Rebel. And finally, fall registration for sports has just been opened this week. Finally, I would like to thank all members of the school committee, administration, and staff for making the best of an unprecedented year. It was a truly great showing of the resiliency of Walpole, and I am truly grateful for all that was done to salvage this year for all the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Representative Mahoney. Any questions for Brendan? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to our next order of business. Vote to approve FY21 tentative budget.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher, would you like to begin the discussion, or Dr. Goff?
I can begin, and then Mike, feel free to jump in if I leave anything out. So enclosed, you'll find the consolidated spreadsheet that represents our tentative FY21 budget request, and the administration is recommending the tentative FY21 budget vote in the amount of $46,858,876. So as you know, just a little bit of a recap, in February, our budget request was a $2.2 million increase over the current year's revenue. So it was a 4.8% increase. And the town administrator, Jim Johnson, had come in at a 3.92 increase. So that was a $47,901,000. So that was a $1.8 million increase over FY20. Today's reality, as I mentioned, is that we're looking at only a $766,000 increase. That's a 1.7% increase, where our original request was 4.8. So the total cut is approximately $1.1 million. So how are we able to balance the budget and close that gap? Well, the first step, if you remember, we removed any new position requests. That was the ESOL support, the counselors, Walpole High School Health, all of those positions. That was a $520,000 worth of position requests came right off. Second, we froze any possible spending, and we realized some savings from the school building shutdowns. Mike Frisha negotiated some savings from the unused transportation costs, some of which was offset by refunds to our families. We furloughed 118 people. We tried very hard to avoid layoffs. And then we had some obviously in attrition due to retirees or people that are being relocated. We expect to receive approximately $100,000 from the Federal CARES Act that was passed on March 22nd. And then that left us with the gap of $106,000, and we were able to close that by not filling two vacant positions. They were unfilled positions. And therefore we have the budget of $46,858,876. Mike, did I miss anything? You're on mute.
Sorry. No, you covered it pretty well, Bridget. The only thing I would say is we're now continuing to a phase 2 of how to take care of FY21 as we move forward. Like our conversations today with the administrators about being responsible in their hirings and keeping an eye on the budget and trying to stick to the $60,000 that we allocated in the budget. And we're doing a series of other things which I won't get into, but I think you summed it up very well.
Mr. Buckley, you're on mute.
There you are. Better? Good. just to kind of tee this off, I think, you know, it would be remiss if we didn't talk about the collaborative way in which we propose this budget. You know, we did basically two whole budgets. We built a budget, we broke it down, we built another one, and I know I'm grateful for the work with our counterparts on the town side, with Pat and Jim, you know, our colleagues on the finance committee, to move through this process, which we basically gone through twice. But at the same time, I think it's imperative to underscore how many things within it we were looking at next year as a year of tremendous growth, and really there are a number of areas in which we as a district wanted to grow and expand services, and unfortunately we have to respond to the financial constraints of the time that we were all in, that all municipalities are in. But I'm grateful for all the work that Bridget and Mike have put in, as well as our counterparts and this committee to come to a budget that will continue to deliver services to you know, the K-12 students that we are in charge of delivering for. I know Mrs. Gallivan, you know, who has worked closely on this. Raise your hand for further thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it is because of some really capable people taking good care of our budget starting in the middle of March, once we knew that, you know, we were beginning a disruptive period. If you follow the news, there are many other districts that are in far worse shape than we are for next year. And I think that Bridget and Mike in particular deserve an awful lot of credit, but so does the whole leadership team. And like you said, the fact that there's an honest, a fair and honest relationship with the municipal side has helped us. It's disappointing, of course, that we can't make the progress we were hoping to make, but it's a tremendous accomplishment to be at the point that we're at right at the moment. To, you know, granted there are a couple of positions that didn't get filled after retirements, but essentially we're going to be able to offer very similar services next year. And I think that's something that everybody should feel pretty good about. I think that Bridget mentioned that, you know, we're going to be revisiting this all along because the state budget hasn't been set yet. It may help us a little bit more. It may cause us more heartache. There may be federal money coming to help us, but that is months away, I think. So I think we just have to be prepared for the fact that the cost of opening school in September is another thing that's a big unknown. So, you know, this is a good place to be, but there are a lot of variables still in play. But thank you to Bridget and Mike was the main thing I wanted to say.
Further questions from the committee? No comments?
I would make a motion then, unless there are other questions or comments.
Somebody scroll through the screen. Any further comments, questions? Staying on, Mrs. Gallivan?
I would make a motion to approve an FY21 Walpole Public School budget of $46,858,876.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gallivan, second by Ms. Cyrek. Call the roll. Mr. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Muccini?
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek?
Yes.
Ms. Inizio?
Yes.
Ms. Gayotitz?
Yes.
Mr. Breen? Mr. Breen, yes?
Yes.
Thank you. 700. Moving on. Our next order of business is vote on non-union compensation. Dr. Goff.
Yes, the school committee is being asked to vote on the non-union compensation for FY '21. I'll turn this over to either Bill or Nancy for the vote.
Ms. Gallivan, do you want to speak to that? I can.
Sure. I would say this is just what's built into the budget. It's just a separate vote that we have to take each year because the non-union people don't have contracts. And the recommendation that we've been talking about all along is a 2% increase for the non-union people. They don't have steps or lanes in their contract. And this is included in what we just approved as a budget for FY '21.
Questions from the committee? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve a 2% contract, 2% increase in contract for all, a 2% increase, no contract, a 2% increase for all non-union personnel for FY '21.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gallivan, second by Ms. Muccini. Call the roll. Mr. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan.
Yes.
Ms. Muccini.
Yes.
Mr. Breen.
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek.
Yes.
Ms. Denizio.
Yes.
Ms. Gayotzitz.
Yes.
That's everybody. Very good. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is attached is the resolution regarding full state reimbursement of COVID-19 expenses. Our budget cannot sustain additional expenses, and the school committee is being asked to adopt this resolution requesting full reimbursement for COVID-19 state mandated expenses. So this we got through our MASC listserv, I believe, and Mrs. Gallivan, would you like to read it off or give further clarification? It's pretty self-explanatory. I can read it if you think that's...
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll just read it. Excellent. Whereas, this is addressed to Governor Baker, Secretary of Education Pizer, Commissioner of Education Riley, Senate President Spilka, Speaker DeLeo, and Walpole State Senators, Representatives, Town Administrator Jim Johnson, and the Chair of the Select Board, Jim O'Neill. Whereas if schools are to reopen in the fall in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is the responsibility of each school district to do so safely and responsibly. And whereas it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that each school district is able to pay for the enormous additional staffing, transportation, and material expenses required to do this, whereas the state cannot expect mandatory COVID-19 safety guidelines to be followed without also ensuring that each school district has the funds required to implement these guidelines. Therefore, be it resolved that the state must guarantee every school district full reimbursement for whatever COVID-19 expenses are required to follow state mandates. We must ensure a statewide school reopening that is safe, responsible, and equitable. There cannot be no unfunded mandates for COVID-19. Respectfully, the Walpole School Committee, and our names below it. Discussion on this. Hands raised. Ms. Gale.
I thought the resolution was really well written, and I think it's really important to get ahead of this and proactively have people weigh in so that we can make a change. Make our voices heard while they're still considering how to handle things. I know there are a lot of towns, just from speaking with friends on school committees in other towns and in leadership positions, that a lot of towns are struggling with this issue. And I think by coming together with one voice and making our feelings heard in this way, I think it's a great way to handle this. So I definitely support signing it.
Well said. Further comments, Ms. Muccini?
Just for the listening audience, if you might explain a resolution.
Sure, that's a good point. So, a resolution is a document that we would sign. We've done a number of these as a school committee, which kind of states a series of facts or position points. In this case, one's around the expense of reopening in the COVID-19 era, and it sort of affirms that position statement, and we have sent them before to governor, the legislature, and other bodies on other matters, and I think it's impactful when we work collectively with our colleagues through the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. In the old days, I'm looking at Nancy and Jen and some others who've been on the committee a long time. We had the Suburban Coalition, which did similar lobbying, but these resolutions are a great formal ways through formalized processes to kind of explain the positions of this committee and body. And I think it's quite timely. The state budget has yet to be released and debated, and so that's happening in the coming weeks. So I think it's the perfect time to do so. There's Denizio.
I agree with what Jen said. I continue to be frustrated by the way in which the state continues to place the burden of responding to this pandemic on local districts and municipalities. I feel as though there's been a real lack of timely information, guidance, and leadership throughout this entire spring. And I think there are some ways in which Walpole is better positioned than other districts to respond to the guidance that came out. For example, in part because we have the one-to-one Chromebooks already at the secondary level, which many districts do not. But in other ways, we're not as well positioned as other districts. For example, with the funding formula for Chapter 78, that doesn't benefit us the way that it benefits other districts. And so I think it is really important that we stand together with other districts across the state and ensure that this is not an unfunded mandate that falls on us. So I support it as well.
Well said. Further questions or comments from the committee, Mrs. Gallivan?
Yeah, this is something that came up pretty quickly because there was some guidance released last Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, about issues that school districts will have to consider in order to open in September. I think it's a moving target. I think that as July goes along, it may become clearer, but Bill is right. This is the right time to join up with people across the state. This particular resolution started with the school committee in Amherst, and you have much better clout when you're talking to the legislature if the 150 people in the House of Representatives are hearing the same thing from each of their towns. It's much more challenging if you just deal with your own state reps. So, I'm glad that Jen feels like it's well written. I know the spirit of it is what we want to do, and I think that it's really the only protection that we have, and I think it's an important one to try to put it in place right away. I know that there are about 6 or 8 school committees that have already signed on to this week, but it just started early I want to say Monday was when it first came about.
Excellent. Further comments? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the resolution as read?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Denizio, second by Ms. Gaotitz. Call the roll. Mr. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Denizio?
Yes.
Ms. Muccini?
Yes.
Ms. Gaotitz?
Yes.
Ms. Syrek?
Yes.
Mr. Breen?
Yes.
Excellent. Very good. Our next order of business is a vote to approve the superintendent evaluation. We had such a good time evaluating Dr. Goff last meeting that we forgot to vote on it, which is requisite pursuant to the Mass General laws. So for the listening audience and those following along, the school committee is charged with hiring and evaluating the superintendent of schools. It's one of our central roles as identified by Ed Reform. And to summarize in about 30 seconds, the school committee reaffirmed our decision to hire Dr. Goff last year and spoke about the great strides she's made in this tumultuous first year with many pitfalls and obstacles that could not be foreseen in leading our district and looking for improvements and focusing on the needs of our students. So that is a document we went over in length in our last meeting, and you can kind of go back to the last week's meeting to see that longer discussion. But this evening we just need a vote to accept the summative evaluation of Dr. Goff. So if I could have a motion for that from the committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gayotin, second by Mrs. Gallivan. Call the roll. Mr. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gayotin?
Yes.
Mr. Breen?
Yes.
Ms. Syrick?
Yes.
Ms. Muccini?
Yes.
Ms. Denizio?
Yes.
Excellent work. Very good. Moving on. Our next order of new business is process for the Walpole High School Rebel name discussion. I will begin, and then we'll hear a little bit about the mechanics from Dr. Goff, and then open it up for further comments on the process. So as most everyone in our fair community is aware, the school committee is in not receipt of, but is very much aware of two competing, two distinct petitions regarding Walpole High School's Rebel moniker. We've also received numerous emails on the subject as well, and I believe it has risen to a point where the school committee it is right and proper to take public comment on this matter and revisit and adjudicate upon it. And my reasons for stating this are mostly precedent. The school committee has voted upon the Rebel mascot in 1998, in 1988, 1993, as well as most recently in 2015, where we commissioned, some members here still present, a rebranding initiative of the Walpole High School name. I think as we are mindful of the residents of our community, students, staff, community members who have reached out to us on both sides of this issue, it is imperative that we have a public forum upon this issue. I think the nature and tenor and the serious, deliberative process that so many residents are partaking in right now to reach out to us requires this matter be examined fully and urgently. So I have proposed, working with the school administration, public forum to be undertaken through Zoom on Tuesday, and then tentatively after, wherein all those who wish to do so can go to the Walpole Public School website right now and sign up to give public comment live through that portal. However, as we have been doing all weekend and through this week, the school committee also is taking written statements from the community, again through that portal. And so as you go through the portal, you can submit a written statement, and you can also indicate your desire to speak publicly on that Tuesday meeting. You can also always use our school committee email to email the entire committee. However, it is much easier to keep public comments organized if you go through the portal on the website, and all members of this committee have the ability to see the aggregated responses therein. It's my intention to have an earnest hearing of this. I feel profoundly, strongly as an alumnus myself of the high school, of the need for this process, now. And speaking only for myself, I believe there is precedent for this committee to undertake and deliberate this issue. But I believe, given the passions of the community, it's important for us to not to take time, as we all are. And I know every one of us has been reading our emails throughout the past few days, and I think it's important that we take a few days after hearing from everyone live, whose testimony on both sides of the issue I believe will be very impactful and very passionate, and then deliberate in public the following Thursday on the regular school committee day. I'm happy to now open it up just to speak to other. Dr. Goff, is that the question?
Yeah, just to mention too, I believe that the deadline to sign up if somebody wants to speak in terms of that form is at noon on Monday, because that will give us time to make sure that those participants get a username and ID so they can get into the waiting room. And then they'll need to sit into the waiting room until they're brought in, and then they will turn on their video camera. I'll unmute them, and then they'll be able to give their statement or their point of view so that they're heard. And then they would be dismissed from that, and then we would let the next person in. So we'll have that, we'll have a Google Doc, and make sure that everybody who's on that. So if we could have that by 12, noon on Monday.
And I know, Bridget, you've been working closely with the town side, because there are other meetings that evening, and Walpole community meeting has been very helpful in setting up this space, given the restrictions on public meeting.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time to try to moderate it, so we can make sure that people that want to speak have the opportunity to speak. And then obviously there are groups of people who, obviously just wanted to send something in through the form that's written, not necessarily, not to be read, but for the school committee to hear their point of view.
Understood. Further questions?
I wanted to say that I think it's important what Bill said earlier about the precedent here. As an attorney, process is really important to me. And, I asked a lot of questions and looked into what the precedent was. I mean, I was here in 2015 when we took the last vote on this, and it's just important that the issue keeps coming up and the school committee has decided this. And, I've seen some comments online saying that, why were we the ones deciding this? Are we even reading things? Do we have our minds made up? And I just want to assure everyone that we're taking what you guys say very seriously. I mean, I can speak for myself. I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning and read for 3 hours and went through as many emails as I could this morning. We're getting so many. So I'm going through them and really taking into account what everybody has to say, listening to students. It's especially important to hear their voices. And I don't think, it's fair for people to say that we have our minds made up. We are really pouring through everything you guys send in. So you have a voice in this. It's our community. You've elected us to make tough decisions. It's not something I take lightly, nor do anyone on the committee. I mean, this is a tough thing to have to decide, but I think, you guys elected us for a reason, and based upon precedent, I think it is proper for us to decide on this. So I just wanted to say that.
You're on mute, Mr.
Any further questions or comments? Ms. Muccini? You got to unmute yourself, too.
Sorry, I was going to say, here I am. I wrote a couple notes I've learned from Nancy after 6 years to bring some notes and not speak stream of conscious with my hands flapping. But I just wanted to say thank you, Jen and Bill, for that explanation. I myself was somewhat ambivalent about school committee, voting on this, but that's really helpful to me and hopefully to other people to hear about precedent and the past votes. And Jen, I also wanted to, as you said, I really want to thank those who have taken time to email, call, text, and volunteer to participate in next Tuesday's listening session. It's really important that we have this community input, and I've been really impressed with, especially the emails, just the time people have taken to state their opinions, whatever side they're on the issue, and be passionate, but in a really respectful way. And that was going to be my next point. It is hard to witness the divisiveness right now in the town, especially after the town had really come together, I think, with the pandemic, helping each other. And so I would just ask that despite differences, we try to remain respectful, thoughtful, and even imagine walking in one another's shoes. Bill explained that both petitions gained momentum quickly, and we felt like we needed to respond as a result. And I wanted to just one other point that's come up several times, and just the fact that we're attending to this issue doesn't mean in any way that very important issues like student instruction and safety in the time of COVID are being put aside. I hope people got that from the beginning of our meeting. So much work has been done and keeps being done on an ongoing basis to provide meaningful and safe learning to Walpole students, even in a world with a lot of unknowns. We don't know really what will happen this fall, but that's always first and foremost for us. And the last thing I just wanted to say, in times of difficulty, sometimes the only way forward is to keep moving and working through until you get a resolution. So that's really my hope, that we can get on the other side of this and come back together as a community.
Well said, Beth. Mrs. Galloway.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I want to thank our chairman, Bill Buckley. He has spent so much time trying to be thoughtful in terms of putting together a meaningful process. And I know this topic means a lot to you, Bill, but I think you've made us responsive, and you have thought about each of the steps along the way. I think you've done a great job. And there are a few things I'd like to say. I was thinking about the fact that we're leaders of an educational institution, and this is just a uniquely important time to educate. And I don't mean like sit down and have somebody lecture at you, but I think it's an important time to try to model listening carefully to opposing points of view, and trying, as Beth just said, to put ourselves in the shoes of those people who we don't agree with, and really consider a complicated topic from multiple points of view. I think that when you think about what you hope kids leave with when they graduate from a high school, these are some of the skills that we really do want to model, because they will become more engaged citizens if students feel capable of doing some of these things. I also have been especially grateful for the careful and thoughtful way that, with very, very few exceptions, people on both sides of this issue have chosen to present their case. It gives me hope that it gives me hope. I think that social media is the exception. I'm not a social media person, but I think sometimes people are just a little bit more thoughtful in a community forum. I think that they have been, as they have reached out to us directly. And I would implore everyone to participate in this process by listening on Tuesday night. Even if you don't want to talk, even if you don't want to send in any kind of statement, I think that it would be great if everybody would listen for the entire time, because I think it's a brave thing that we're asking of people, especially young people, to put themselves out there with an opinion that they know is not going to be unanimously accepted. but I think that the best we can ask for is to ask people to listen with open minds and open hearts. And as Jen and Beth just said, I understand people might feel like, oh, maybe somebody has their mind all made up. We're going into this with open minds and open hearts. In the past few years, there's been a real effort to encourage students to participate in civics and civic engagement. And I would urge all of us as adults to recognize that for many of the young adults, this is their first real attempt to participate in the dialogue of this nature. They deserve our respect, and we can come through this as a better community if we lead with empathy, respect, and a willingness to consider other points of view. And I completely understand we're in for a difficult conversation, but I hope that in the end, this can be something that draws us together as a community.
And just kind of to piggyback upon Nancy and Beth's comments, I know we're going to be promulgating some norms, and I think it's important to note that the preponderance of emails we've gotten have been incredibly respectful and thoughtful. I know I appreciate that as someone who's been reading them all. But we want to make sure that the public dialogue is equally respectful and deliberative. And so we're obviously, asking people to refrain from recriminations of their neighbors, recriminations of individuals who've worked in the school department in the past, and just be emblematic of all the good that is in our community as we undergo this process, which is an emotional one. I have a Facebook account. I can read Walpole recommends. I know it's an emotional one, but I think it is a process that the moment demands. I truly do. And an important point of clarification I'd just like to make. I was on the phone with Coach Quinn, the field hockey coach, early this morning. This public input exercise is focused solely on the rebels, and I think it's the public outcry has been overwhelmingly, predominantly about the rebels and about the connotations and history and implications of the rebel name. And I, for one, feel strongly about not conflating that with other issues and other names. I think that we must deal and dialogue squarely with the rebels in this next week. And so I know I was able to have, and many of my colleagues were able to have really wonderful discussions with a number of members of the Porker field hockey team, and just to explain that this was not in the cards from the beginning. The school district is seeking to create a space for dialogue around the rebels and the rebels alone. But to there as well, the young student athletes who reached out to our committee through our committee email have given us all very profound and impassioned opinions on that as well. But that is not what we're talking about in this moment, and I think that's important to underscore. Further questions on process. We're going to begin at 6 o'clock. Ms. Gallivan.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on what you were just saying about the Porkers. I think that it's not on our agenda. It sort of snuck into the conversation, but we're not saying this is first and Porkers are next. We're not addressing the need to change the Porkers name, and I would really commend the people who spoke so eloquently about that.
Excellent. Anything further on this? I'm sorry. Mr. Green.
Bill, I'd like to second a little bit of what Nancy just said. You know, all the emails have generally been way more civil than the social media, but it was interesting to see, maybe it's a bias on my part because I have a daughter that played field hockey, but it's interesting to see how well thought out some of the field hockey alumni, how well thought out their letters were. You know, some of them, many of them made a strong effort to disassociate field hockey from the Rebel name, and I commend them for that.
Well said. Further comments? Let me scroll through. Seeing none. Again, we'll begin the public forum at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and we ask that you indicate your desire to speak by 12 noon on Monday. And I'll be going back through a number of people who have responded to us via email and just asking, you know, we strongly encourage the mechanisms for public comment are there, but we strongly encourage you to use the portal on the website because it's just much easier for us to, it grids it out for us, so we're not reading through a number of emails, which is fine also, but it helps us collate them quickly and be more responsive to them. Seeing nothing else on this matter, Superintendent's report, Dr. Goff.
Thank you. As we've just mentioned that, you know, Sunday, June 7th, our community celebrated our 146th, that's hard to believe, commencement ceremony to honor our Walpole High School graduating senior class of 2020. It was unique, needless to say, and graduates were accompanied by their families as they drove through the decorated high school lot. Thank you, families. The photos and the signs were absolutely wonderful, so thank you all. Before they finally received their diplomas as their names were read over the PA system. And we had the pomp and circumstance. I think we've all had that in our heads who were able to attend for 4 straight hours. So I think we had it in our heads going home. Although we know it's not a traditional ceremony, some aspects of the day did feel very familiar, and I'm incredibly proud of our seniors as they moved their tassel to the other side of their graduation caps. Parents and close friends shared in the celebration and joy of this important accomplishment of each of our graduating seniors. And finally, as we know, our entire community shared in celebration by rallying around them with a memorable historic parade. I just want to also use this opportunity, I mentioned this in my weekly message, to thank the staff and all the volunteers who made this a special occasion. You know, Mr. Buckley helping out with the diplomas, and Mrs. Gallivan and Mrs. Denizio running back and forth along with Mr. Hahn, trying to make sure that we were able to get a smooth process as the students moved through. The day really took meticulous planning. I'm grateful to Principal Imbush for his leadership and the entire school staff for their hard work to ensure this was a great day. A special thank you to the Walpole Police Department and the Walpole Fire Department for their support as well. Neither of the ceremony of the graduation parade would have been possible without them. And most importantly, to the class of 2020. These last few months have presented us with many challenges, but you continue to rise to the occasion and represent our community with pride and integrity, and it is my great honor to celebrate you. I also included links, they're on the Walpole School District website, of the parade and the full graduation video. It was really an honor. We wish them well, and it was great to give them the recognition that they so deserve. On another note, we recently received preliminary guidance regarding the proposed safety requirements and protocols from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for potential opening of school and special education summer programming. It's just important to note that it's tempting to make inferences about fall requirements whenever we get a new memo or something is released. The guidance we received, we're informed, is to be used for supply purchasing and order planning. It's not to make any broad-based judgments about what the models of learning might look like for the fall. And we expect to receive more comprehensive guidance in the coming weeks, and we'll continue to communicate to school committee throughout the summer as official guidelines are put forth by the state. And as I mentioned previously, we have already shifted our planning to the 2020-2021. We've done that weeks ago. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, they've formed their own working group to develop a plan. And but even though they're doing that, I'm also working daily with our Walpole Public Schools administration and leadership team and our local Massachusetts superintendents to ensure that we are prepared to implement the guidance when it becomes available. We've also formed our own grade level advisory teams to study 4 major areas. They're physical and virtual environments, teaching and learning, operation and business services, and behavioral health or social emotional learning. So when Deese officially releases a plan, we'll be in a very good position to respond to the changes and prepare for reopening throughout the summer. And then on a final note, there'll be a link coming out from the principals, and then we'll get it on the district website. I have to commend our art teachers because the district art show was canceled. Obviously, they ended up putting together a virtual art show. So that will be on, if it's not on tonight, it'll be on tomorrow through the principal e-notes, and that we'll get it on our district website. So I really thank them for their hard work in putting this together.
Questions for the superintendent? Ms. Denizio.
Just have a couple of comments. First, with regard to the work that's been done in preparation for the state guidance to come out. I know a lot of work has gone into that, and I know we have a lot of anxious parents in our community who are wondering what's going to happen in the fall. A lot of parents who are praying they don't have to continue to educate their children in between doing their day job. And they're really, the uncertainty is hard for all of us to deal with. But I think it's really important, Bridget, that you spoke to all the work that's going on behind the scenes, because I know the district will be ready to hit the ground running once we know what we're dealing with. And so I'm glad you explained that. I don't know how much it'll lessen people's anxiety, but I think that they should trust that these plans are being really thoughtfully considered. And like you said, on a variety of levels, not just the academics, but the social emotional support, the logistics, etc. And the other comment I wanted to make just pertain to the graduation ceremony. So I was in attendance, and it was my first Walpole High School graduation. I certainly hope it'll be the longest high school graduation that I attend. What was it, Bridget? 4 hours and something?
Yeah, we officially started at 10 of 12, and I think it ended, at 10 minutes of 4, and then the parade kicked off at 4:10.
So I know there was a lot of concern ahead of time. People were wondering just how celebratory and festive it would be, and if it would be worthy of all of the hard work and accomplishments of this class, which are many. And I have to say, there was such a spirit of community, so many smiles on the faces of the graduates and their family members. It was really something to behold, and I want to echo what you said about thanking all the staff who put it together. And then when it came to the parade, that was a whole nother thing. I mean, I walked quite a ways away from my home to stand on the route, and I ran into 4 families I know who had come out to show their support, and none of them had a personal connection to any of the graduates. They were just there to be supportive of the community, and I thought it was really special. And I know there's been a lot of chatter in support of making that a tradition, perhaps, and I guess we'll have to see about that, but I think everyone who participated thought it was wonderful.
I love a parade. Mr. Breen.
I would concur on the chatter about making it a new tradition. That seems to be a common theme in towns everywhere. It was really a neat thing. Sorry, Dr. Goff.
Mrs. Gallivan, she's going in on it too. Let's watch.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm gonna say I think we have to give that conversation on hold because we have some exhausted people after the amount of time that they put in. As Carrie was saying, the staff that was there and the staff then that lined the parade route, and I think that they will be open to it, but I think that we shouldn't ask them to promise anything today because I think they're thoroughly exhausted. But it was really, really a tough decision to say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Because yeah, there were always the what ifs, but boy, Stephen Bush did a really, really good job. I mean, I kept saying to Carrie, I'm watching the time and I'm thinking this is going to go on forever. He knew exactly how much time he needed, and every student was presented in their own way. It was take your time, it was thoughtfully done. And honestly, I think Steve had a comment of support for every single kid, one by one, all afternoon long. It was really impressive.
Very much so.
Mr. Buckley, I just wanted to, just about the preparation for the fall, I just want to publicly thank, Mike Frisha. I mean, he has been doing wonders with the ordering and what he needs to do even before the supply list or the recommendation had come out. So we were ahead of the game and what we need to order, so things, are not back ordered. So really just to have that, be able to have foresight to do that. And then also to Bill Hahn, because he was spending, countless hours on summer programming and making sure that, we were able to open up, programming for our students, and as well as John Quealy for our extended year. So that's going to be up and, running, and as we're focusing on the fall. So thank you guys for doing that.
Well done. Further questions for Dr. Comments? Other people want to say they like parades. Very good. I don't know if anybody saw it in East Walpole, but it was like the 4th of July. They had the American flag off the ladder truck right outside St. Mary's and the East Walpole Fire Station. It was just wonderful. Excellent. Our next order of business is subcommittee reports. Have we had a subcommittee in the last 2 weeks? We have not. That's wonderful news. Our next order of business is warrants, donations, and minutes. Ms. Denizio.
I will make a motion to approve the following payroll warrant from May 28th, number 2048PA, for the amount listed in your packets. Second.
Motion by Ms. Denizio, second by Ms. Cyrek. Roll of the committee. Mrs. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Muccini?
Yes.
Denizio?
Yes.
Mr. Breen?
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek?
Yes.
Geroltitz?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve the following accounts payable warrants from June 4th, number 220049, for the amounts listed in your packets. Second.
Motion by Ms. Denizio, second by Ms. Cyrek, by a nose. All those in favor? Mr. Buckley, yes. Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Muccini?
Yes.
Ms. Denizio?
Yes.
Ms. Geroltitz?
Yes.
Breen?
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek?
Yes.
Mr. Breen, did I call you on the last one?
I think so. Yeah.
Excellent. Good work. Moving on, would someone like to take in donations?
Sure. I will make a motion to approve the following gifts. To Boyden School on May 13th from the Boyden Pack Book Projects in the amount of $4,000. To Boyden School, Johnson Middle School, and Old Post Road School, Bay State Textiles and Recycling, in the amount of $417.75. To Boyden Elementary School, Box Tops for Education, donation in the amount of $28.40. System-wide from Dedham Savings, chairs for retiring staff in the amount of $800. And system-wide from Bay State Federal Savings Charitable Foundation, chairs for retiring staff in the amount of $400.
Motion by Ms. Denizio, second by Ms. Muccini. Call the roll. Mr. Buckley, yes. Ms. Muccini.
Yes.
Ms. Denizio.
Yes.
Mrs. Gallivan.
Yes.
Ms. Gaeltitz.
Yes.
Mr. Breen.
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek.
Yes.
Every time I switch screens, everybody it's like they shuffle. Very disconcerting to me. I can't find my sheet. Excellent. Would someone like to take minutes?
Sure.
Do you have them up?
Yep. Like to make a motion to approve the following school committee minutes. The school committee regular meeting minutes from May 28th and the school committee executive session meeting minutes for May 28th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cyrek, a second by Ms. Denizio. All those in favor, Mr. Buckley, yes. Mrs. Gallivan.
Yes.
Ms. Gaeltitz.
Yes.
Denizio.
Yes.
Ms. Muccini.
Yes.
Ms. Cyrek.
Yes.
Mr. Breen.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion carries. There is no need for an executive session this evening. Mr. Breen, would you like to take us out?
Yes, please. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
By Mr. Breen, second by Ms. Cyrek. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. See you all Tuesday. Have a good
Thanks,
weekend.
Bill.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.